Hey, what's up, folks? Today is September 3rd, 2024, and so today, again, I'm Eric with Success Over Stress. So we're going to continue looking at programming EasyLanguage for the TradeStation platform, and so today we're going to be continuing on. I guess it's part 3 now of what we were looking at initially. The prior 2 days. I think the first day we made swing low points. The second day, which was yesterday, we took 2 swing low points, one being higher than the preceding one, and we drew a trend line. Today what we're going to do is we're going to clean up the script a little bit, put some input so that we can modify it from the chart, and then we're going to also minimize how many lines we have on the chart. So today will be a fairly easy day. Let's get to, and we'll change the color of the trend line. Okay, all right, so let's get to it. This is the chart that we have from the script that we had from yesterday, and so this is the script that we have from yesterday, and we will put them side by side. Okay, now that we have them side by side, we can go ahead and take a look at what we're working with. So for the first thing, we'll go ahead and clean up the script a little bit, and then we'll go into the changing it. So for value 1, val 1 is the swing low bar bars ago. So let's change val 1 to swing low bars ago. So all we're going to do is we're going to hit Control H, I believe it is, and then it says find what, replace it with what. Okay, so you have to be careful with this. Sometimes if you have a certain word like a sequence that is PAN, well, PAN shows up here, right? So you got to be careful if you're using part of a word that is included within another word. All right, so we'll do val 1, and then we're going to do replace with. We're going to say swing low bars ago. Okay, and that's essentially what that's doing. So we're going to replace all, and so you see it replace that right there with swing low bars ago. Wherever we had the val 1, it replaced that word there. So we're going to hit verify, make sure that we didn't have any issues where we had a partial replacement, and we didn't. All right, so swing low bars ago looks good. Count span looks good. Trend line is T line, that looks fine. We could take trend line and maybe make it trend line 1, because we're going to need another trend line here in a minute. So T line, and we'll make it trend line underscore 1, and then we'll replace all. Okay, verify, still looks good. Start point, just to clean up start point, we're going to do start point, excuse me, so start point like this. All right, and then we replace all. Okay, verify, no issues. All right, so the rest of this looks good. Okay, so one thing that we're going to do is we're going to make an input. So if you come over here and you open up the study, edit studies, and you go to trendline support, you double click that. Now inputs, it doesn't have any, so you can't modify this on the fly. Essentially, you have to be the programmer, and you have to change it within the script if you want anything changed. If you want to share this with somebody or anything like that, then this is pretty much not usable for them for the most part. All right, so let's get this out of here. We're going to have some inputs, and typically, as I understand the way that some of these senior and professional programmers like to do it, they like to put the name, well, you need to put the namespaces first, and then you typically put your inputs next, and then you have your variables, and then your one statements, so forth and so on. So right now we're going to do input, and we're going to have swing low strength, which will be this. So swing low, we'll make it this swing low strength, and right now we have it set at 3. So we'll put that, and then to be a little bit more fancy, what you can do is you can put the square brackets, and then you can have display name, okay, equals, and then it'll just be swing low strength, and then comma, and then tooltips, I think it's tooltips or tooltips, I believe, equals strength of swing low. Okay, and then you close the square brackets, and then a comma if you are going to have another input. But let's take this space out of there. Verify it. All right, tooltips. It's tooltip with singular. Okay, so now we're back in action. Okay, so is there anything else that we want to modify? So all these threes, there aren't any other threes on this program. This is something that you can do. You can kind of mess everything up by doing this, especially with a number, because numbers occur multiple times. So what you do is you hit Control H, and then you replace 3 with what? You replace it with swing low strength. Copy, paste, and so you do this one at a time. You do replace, and let's see. Find what 3, and we don't need to replace this one because this is our initial one. So I guess we just do find next, and then we're going to replace, and then we can replace that one. That one's okay. We need to replace that one. We need to replace that one. We need to replace that one, and not that one. So hit cancel. Okay, verify. Should still be good to go. All right. So now that we have our inputs in, and we don't need to modify anything else, all the rest of this looks good. Let's take out some of these extra spaces, and then after you do your variables, I like to have a space there before you get to the main body, and then we're just going to put so for this first one, we are the swing low bar. You use your 2 backslashes to give yourself comments, okay? So if we have a swing low higher than the previous, then we will plot a trend line. Okay, all right, so only other thing I'm gonna do with this is we're going to go ahead and have a filter on here, so we restrict how many lines we have, because right now we have a lot of lines. Okay, how many lines do you say that we have? Well, we have a lot of lines. We'll just say if last bar on chart EX. So again, if it's the last bar on the chart, so if you put if last bar on chart, then what? Then print. What are we going to print? We're going to print. This is the drawing objects. I guess this is the namespace, but then I guess it's also the class, and to find the vector that holds the vector within the collection, we got to do drawing objects. You see how it came up there? That's how you know it's a class, right? Now it comes up with that object right there. All right, so we're going to do drawing objects dot heart brackets 3. Now why are we using 3? And actually this is here. I think that's here. Dot count. Okay, so it printed 309. You said, why are we using 3, Eric? So we right click on that, hit definition of drawing objects. When you got to use an enumeration there that tells you which vector you're looking at in this collection under the drawing objects class. Okay, so when we click on that, that shows that trend lines is the third index. It's so the collection of vectors. This is the third index, or the third element. I guess it would be the, well, I guess it's going by ones. It doesn't have a 0 position, so this would be the 1, 2. This would be the third position, third index. Okay, so we're going to use this same idea right here, and we're going to go back up here to the, we can do it down here. So we're just going to say if drawing objects of that third index dot count is greater than or equal to 15, then we need to delete it. We need to delete what's after it. All right, so the way that a collection works is that you have one object, and then when you add something, you have another object, and when you add something, you have another object. You keep adding, so your oldest object is at the end. So if this was index 0, index 1, index 2, your oldest object is at the end. So now you can insert the newest object here, and so your newest would be here, and your newest would be here, and your newest would be here. I'm sorry, not the oldest object. Your newest object is here, right? So your oldest object is here. That's the first object that you had, right? Because I was adding them. So I'm adding. So your newest object is to the right. Your oldest object is to the left. Now you can insert your newest object here, but we'll go over insert at a later date. Okay, so what we want to do is if we have a count greater than or equal to 15, and that's actually going to be index of 14, so we're going to delete the 15th one. So then we're going to delete the 15th. So we're going to take what's in the 15th position, drawing object of what? Of that third index dot, because it's the what? The trend line index dot, not count, but dot at. And we want to take it at what position? Remember when we did all these numbers here? Do we want to take it at this first position? Do we want to delete the oldest ones? Or do we want to delete the newest ones? Well, as the chart is moving from left to right, you want to keep your newer stuff. You want to delete your older stuff. So you want to delete this older stuff. You want to delete what's at index 0. Okay? So you're going to delete what's at index 0. All right. But this is not the delete function. What we're doing now is we need to assign this trend line, whatever it is, we need to assign that trend line to a holding trend line. And we can just use that same trend line, which is trend line 1. We're going to assign it there. So we can say then trend line 1, or we'll do a begin end. Okay, so we say trend line 1 is equal to whatever was at this position here. Okay, now that we have, oh, and when we take it out of the vector, when we take it out of this vector here, we need to take it out and define it at the same time as type trend line. And now it goes directly from a trend line into a trend line, right? So no issues there. All right, so now that we have it as a trend line, then we can just go ahead with drawing objects dot. Remember when we added it, we did drawing objects dot add. Well, this is just drawing objects dot delete. Long time coming. It took me a long time to kind of really figure out, figure this whole thing out. So I hope you guys are getting it a lot easier by my going through it. Okay, so we hit verify. What is drawing objects? Unknown identifier. I probably spelled it wrong. Yep. OBJ. Okay, now you see there? Now we only have 15 objects, 15 trend lines. Okay, now we want to be able to do this on the fly. Again, we want to be able to modify it when we go to edit studies and we go to inputs. Swinglow strength, we can adjust that here. We want to be able to, oh, and we need to change one more thing here. All right, we need to be able to modify how many elements we have here. So we're going to have a comma, and then we're going to have, we'll just call it items to keep. Items to keep, and then we'll start it off at 15, and then we'll put the square brackets, and just for the sake of typing, we're going to do copy and then and paste, and then the display name will be number. I would just call it items to keep. Let's keep it simple. And then for tooltip, we'll say number of objects to okay, we'll erase objects beyond this number. Okay, makes sense? Makes sense. Okay, so now items to keep is 15. We're just going to replace that with this 15 here. Items to keep. Okay. All right, so I'm about running out of time. Like I said, try to keep them anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes now. All right, so edit studies, go double click on that. You see swing low strength. When you hover over it, it says strength of swing low. Items to keep, when you hover over it, says will erase objects beyond this number. So now we can put this number at 30, or let's put it at 5. It'll just kind of trim it down a little bit more. All right, you see we got 5. All right, so there we go. All right, and it looks like 2, 4. What are we keeping? If the count is greater than or equal to, what do we do? Greater than? All right, and so when we do greater than, then we get the right right number there. Okay, all right, so that's pretty much all I'm gonna do today. Probably tomorrow, I think what I'm interested in doing is identifying. So for the next program tomorrow, we will identify when a break of the trend line occurs with conditions, and set alerts as well. Okay. Oh, we also need to color the trend lines based on whether it has been crossed. Let's do that. Okay. All right, guys. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. By all means, like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Share with a loved one. Share with a neighbor. Again, sharing is caring. Anyway, I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.